Okay, hello mortals. Oh my god, it took me a moment to start this podcast this podcast up because of technical difficulties. It is raining where I am, so if it gets a little fuzzy, I'm so sorry about that. So, this is a special episode for you guys. Waiting for AjScream or my partner Alyssa to come in, and we are set actually because it was later in this week that I remember that it was the Moon Festival. So, this is a kind of like a last minute. That's why we call it Down the Rabbit Hole. Alyssa, are you here?
I am indeed.
Oh my god, I was just telling them how I rescheduled like the other episode and then make this episode of the last minute because I forgot that it was the freaking Mid Autumn Festival, even though I made like 50 mooncakes. Like,
yeah, if you guys have been following her, you guys have definitely been seeing all of those tasty, amazing looking mooncakes. I didn't get any.
Not my fault. Not my fault. That's not my fault that she did not get any. If she chooses not to get any.
It's a far drive.
So, you really committed. You're committed.
You're right. Okay, so next time I will be more committed and get myself some mooncakes. But yeah, she just posted a picture.
Next time you probably will be very committed because I'm going to be living further from you.
Oh, you know what? For the mooncakes, it's worth it.
You see that? You lived near me for like the past 5 years and you never got it. So that's why now I'm going to make you drive further.
You know what? I'll take that as my due punishment. But definitely, guys, if you came in expecting an RBTM episode, I'm pretty sure I already told you guys this, but we have rescheduled it. Don't be sad, though, because we have a very fun episode for you today. If you've been on MBTM, you know we do a little something called Down the Rabbit Hole, where we do basically 30 minutes where we go all in on a story and basically analyze it within 30 minutes. It's usually a lot of chaos, and there are a lot of interesting things that pop up. But we hope you guys enjoy it because we, like she said, we just realized while we were talking this week about the episode, we were like, hey, it's literally the Moon Festival and we're like missing it. So we thought it'd be fun to do a little episode on it.
Yeah, and happy Mid-Autumn Festival or Moon Festival to everyone that celebrates it, whoever celebrates it. Pretty sure today you're probably going to have a blast. Not me because it's raining where I am. Not even sure am I going to see the moon tonight. But doesn't matter. We have mooncakes and that's all that matters in this episode. So I'm going to just tell you that this is going to be a little bit of chaos. Not so much because it's one story, but there's going to be a lot of different details in it. So sit tight. You know, if you have a blankie, wrap it around yourself. If you have a pillow, remember to just relax and let us do all the work. So, you ready for the intro?
Born ready.
Alrighty. So, here goes for the Down the Mid-Autumn Festival rabbit hole. So, since today is the Mid-Autumn Festival, or you mortals might know it as the Moon Festival or the Mid-Autumn Day, we decided to take another trip down the rabbit hole to celebrate this holiday. We're going to be telling 3 different versions of one myth. Like we said before, mythology stories are meant to change. They're not like the cold, solid history where everything needs to be accurate. So without wasting any more moonlight, even though we don't really have any right now, we give you the 3 different tales of the legend of Chang'e and Hou, also known as the origin of the Mid-Autumn Festival, the reason why we celebrate this holiday. So, just a little disclaimer. And Vietnamese people celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival. And but of course the Mid-Autumn Festival did originated from China. And so the myth, the Chinese myth about Chang'e and Hou did make itself apparent in China, of course, but the Vietnamese people have the exact same myth. So basically, they are the exact same story. It's just that the way, of course, I learned it, the characters' name are a little bit different because it has been translated. So if you are like Vietnamese and you heard the story before and you're like, oh, why did the character's name change? It didn't really. It just got translated in the version that you heard. So it's not that different. And of course, you guys might already know the original myth. So we're going to be telling the original myth.
I think we're hopping back and forth today. So, because I am not of any Asian descent, but I remembered hearing this story a long time ago. And when I heard I heard the Chinese version. So I can't even say we're hopping into China today or a postcard because it like I only really knew the connection to the actual festival when you mentioned that you celebrated it. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is just a widespread thing that like most people would do.
So far when we look this up, the countries that celebrate Mid Autumn Festival includes China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, and I think Japan has their own like Moon Festival as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure is it like this. I'm not sure is it like the ones that we celebrate specifically in the Southeast Asian side, but so far the myth that I know growing up, of course, of course I always known as a Vietnamese myth. But after a while, when I looked into the actual origin of this myth, I know it originated from China, and we basically have the same story, just the name got translated. That's it. That's the only thing different. So today I'm gonna tell you the original myth, like the ones that were told way back then. And then we have the more common myth, the romantic myth. This is the version where you guys probably heard about it the most. And I think this is the version that you heard, Alyssa, is the romantic myth. And then we have the dramatic myth, the more modern myth that has been translated, not translated, but what would you call it?
Convert.
Many theatrical plays and musicals that I have seen. And when I say it's dramatic, it's dramatic. There's no other way.
Just funny enough, I was actually told the dramatic version. I remember being little and hearing the dramatic version because I see a little heartbreak symbol on there. And I remember that at the end of the story, I was like, what? I was like very outraged as a kid. So I'm pretty sure I was told the dramatic version. My mother had a thing for kind of telling me the tragedy versions of mostly all the stories. It's why I know so much about Greek myths and Shakespeare and whatnot.
Okay. Let's see. Let's just go down the rabbit hole and see. Okay. So let's start out with the original myth. I'm so happy for this now. Okay. So Chang'e. We're going to start. This story only has two main characters, Chang'e and Hou. So basically throughout the entire version, we're just going to be spinning around these two characters. It's not going to be complex at all. I'm not going to introduce that much new characters, or they're just going to be like, on the side supporting. So the main character is still Chang'e and Hou. So Chang'e is this extremely famous moon goddess. You hear her in a lot of different Chinese and Vietnamese myths. She's known to be extremely powerful because she's in charge of the moon. Like, get it? Moon Festival, the moon? That's why it's related. So this myth, the original myth.
She was really beautiful too. I looked up her name and actually supposedly, and anybody feel free to really correct on this. I do not speak Chinese, but her name apparently was supposedly like Chang'e. Is it Chang'e? It's Chang'e.
Chang'e, yeah.
Yeah, Chang'e. I looked it up, like the origins of her name, and it's apparently like it's not the characters. The way they described it was the characters are not normally put together. And so it was actually it's put together to describe a very beautiful woman, supposedly.
Yeah, she's known to be very beautiful as well.
Interesting. Okay, I just found it very interesting.
Yeah, like if you guys are Vietnamese, then you guys might know her as Hangya. Like, get it? Chang'e, Hangya. See how it's kind of similar in the pronunciation. And because but we have a phrase that, oh, you're as pretty as the moon goddess. It means like, oh, you're as pretty as Chang'e, or you're as pretty as the woman on the moon. That's like, she's known for her beauty. Like, people like just looks up to her as this, even though she's not really specifically depicted or described. People looked at her as like this mysterious goddess who's just known for her beauty and her talents, but she's like isolated on the moon because she's too good for anyone to ever be reached. So this myth, the original myth, is a tragic story of how Chang'e becomes separated from her husband, Hou. So we're going to go ahead and be like, once upon a time, there were these 10 gods who are all sons of the Jade Emperor. So the Jade Emperor is basically, I don't want to call him like the Chinese version of Zeus because he's known to be, well, he is a little bit of a jerk. So he's like the Chinese version of Zeus.
Like, if any of you know the story of and this is going to be quick because I know we got to go down the rabbit hole. But before we jump deep down, if anyone's ever heard the story of Sun Wukong, if anybody, and for those of you who are not very well versed, sorry, I can't speak.
The Journey to the West.
Sun Wukong. It's
the Journey to the West.
Yeah, the Journey to the West. I always call it the Journey of Sun Wukong because that might as well be what it's called. He basically runs the show. But if you guys have ever read the classics, or if you've ever seen, for those of you who are anime lovers, Goku, he's actually widely based off of the Journey to the West main character.
Well, the Jade Emperor, he's like this guy who's just in charge of, everything, heaven, earth, everything. He's just this guy who's in charge of all the gods, and basically the big man who sat on the throne. He's in charge of a lot of things.
He's still below Buddha. He's not above Buddha, though, from what I understand.
Well, in Buddhism, yes. In a way, yes. But we're not going to get into all of that. That's another rabbit hole. We're jumping down this one.
Wrong rabbit hole. Okay.
Yeah, wrong rabbit hole. Get back to the right one. Okay. They decided. Okay, so there were these 10 gods who were all sons of the Jade Emperor, the big guy, okay? So they're the son of the big guy. They decided, all 10 of them, decided to turn themselves into 10 suns. Yes, the one in the sky, the one that's supposed to be shining. We have one, right? They decided to turn themselves into 10 of them. The 10 suns scorched, burned, like raged the land on earth and plunge it into an eternal drought. Because, dear God, we're like, what? We have one sun and I'm already dying in the summer, and I'm in like Georgia. I'm already dying. Imagine 10 suns.
I would have been baking. I would have been having a good time.
Like the time you fall asleep. Okay. I bring that up. I will bring that up. So the Jade Emperor.
You know what? Let's keep going.
Okay. The Jade Emperor, the guy on the throne, he couldn't get his sons to stop scorching the earth and return to their former self. Like, they're like, ha, daddy, you can't reach us. So he summons Hou Yi, who is a talented and divine archer. He is at this point immortal. In this story, in this original myth, he's already an immortal. Like, he's like already talented enough to join the god at this point. So the Jade Emperor is like, Hou Yi, I have 10 sons. They turn themselves into actual sons. You need to do something about it. And Hou Yi, along with his wife, were both immortal. So they live in like the heavens already. They live amongst other divine beings. Hou Yi was like, okay, how do I solve this problem? So he decided to put his skill to good use. He took out his bow and arrow, and he shot down 9 of the 10 sons, killing 9 of the Jade Emperor's sons.
Imagine being so OP that you are literally shooting down the sun itself. You are hunting suns. I think hilarious. Play on words. Suns, as in the sun.
Hou Yi is known to be a very, very, very talented archer. Like, he was born talented, because you guys must remember here that the Chinese people were extremely into the idea of reincarnation. They believe that every child born, they have a certain mission, or they have a certain destiny on earth. So Hou Yi is like one of those like very special people. He's not like a demigod. He's not like a product of a god and a human or anything. He's literally born to be divine. He's born to be talented. Like, it was his destiny to, like, do big things with his bow and arrow, I guess. And so he literally shot down 9 of the sons, and he killed 9 of the Jade Emperor's sons, leaving only 1 sun in the sky, like it should be. Like, there should only be 1 sun in the sky. The Jade Emperor was like, I didn't think you were going to do that. So he got so upset that he killed 9 of his sons.
Bow and arrow. It's a whole weapon. Like, what did you expect to happen? Did you want him to just lasso them and just, put him in the closet?
I don't know what he was expecting. Like I told you, he's kind of a jerk, because he's not clear what he wants. So because Hou Yi shot down 9 of his sons, he banished Hou Yi and his wife from heaven, making them mortal, making them into just regular people, and be like, you're out of here. Like, he just like literally took away, because he couldn't get his family together. So Chang'e, the wife of Hou Yi, she was used to be an immortal. So she was really, really, really upset and depressed by the fact that she lost her immortality. And Hou Yi, being the good husband he is, couldn't stand to see his wife so depressed. So he set out on a quest to the Kunlun Mountains to seek the auxiliary of immortality from the Queen Mother from the West. She's basically like the person who's in charge of that mountain. She's like the number one woman on that mountain. So she's like a very powerful, like divine figure in many Chinese myths. So if you guys hear the repeat of the name of the Queen Mother from the West, just know that she's a very, very powerful goddess, like in Chinese mythology.
Any relation to Nguyen?
I don't know.
Huh. That might be something we look up. Keep going. I might look that up.
Okay. So Hou Yi uses his skills to like overcome the challenges, because you can't just reach the mountain. You have to overcome challenges. It's like, you know, you can't just see the Queen Mother like that. You got to jump through some hoops. So when he met the Queen Mother from the West, she gave him one auxiliary and told him that half of this is enough to make someone immortal. So this should be enough for you and your wife to become immortal again. So Hou Yi brought the auxiliary home and keep it in like the secure box. He told his wife to not ever open this box, which is like, come on, dude. Like, you know what? Like when people tell you not to touch something, aren't you even more curious now? You want to touch it. Like, so like it would have been just okay if you just bring that box home and just put it in like a safe corner or something. Why do you need
Pandora vibes? Like, don't sabotage people like that. I feel like if I can't open it, what is the point of even having it? Like, what was it supposed to do? Like, imagine a world in where they actually followed directions, which this is mythology, so we know they're not. But imagine if they followed directions. What would this have accomplished?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't understand why people keep saying that. Oh, I mean, if she found the box by accident, I get it. But why do you need to specify and be like, don't touch this box? It's sitting right here in the middle of the room. Just don't touch it. I'm like, I want to touch it now because I don't know what's in it. But but of course, Chang'e got too curious. So one day, when her husband wasn't home, Chang'e secretly opened the box and she saw the auxiliary. At this exact moment when she opened the box and saw the auxiliary, her husband returns home and like, honey, I'm home. And Chang'e didn't want him to see her with the auxiliary. So she drank it. Like, wouldn't he have noticed it was gone or something? Like, the moment it's like, oh my God, he's at the door. I need to drink this. Like, what the heck?
Like, but yeah. Just put it back. You could have put it back and be like, oh, I was going to touch it. But like, you know, I didn't. Yeah.
Like they just have to make it like, I don't know, dramatic or something, or comedic. Like, I don't even know.
Understood. Like what is he really gonna do if she was opening it? This man was willing to walk and go like beg Mother Earth, basically Chinese version of Mother Earth, basically, to go and get help for you. Like, I don't think he's gonna be too wanted to see what was this.
Like, that was weird. I don't even know how she come up with that theory, or how did the author come up with that theory. But
it's quick interruption. I did actually look it up, and so Mother of the West, I actually looked her up. No relation to Nguyen, apparently, which is kind of sorely disappointing. Nguyen's kind of fun, but like apparently Xin Mu, which apparently is her name, she's supposedly married to the Jade Emperor in some stories.
Yeah, she is known to be married into the Jade Emperor.
I find that hilarious that the Jade Emperor is the reason why they're in this mess, and she's the reason that they're gonna.
Well, we are not supposed, like from what I know, that they're not supposed to call her by her name. Like, they're supposed to call her by her title because it would be like disrespectful. So I really never learned her real name. So I kind of just learned it from you right now. That's an interesting fact, that we don't really call these people by their names. Like, these people are actually being worshipped till today. Like, even though these are mythology, like in Chinese and Vietnamese myth, there are a lot of these figures that people take very seriously. Like, they still worship them till today. That's a very interesting fact to say. So just to continue with the story, even though she thought he wouldn't notice, it doesn't matter, because the next thing you know, the powerful auxiliary causes Chang'e to become so light that she started to float away from Earth like a balloon and onto the moon. Like, suits you, right? So Hou Yi saw his wife just floating away like a balloon, but he couldn't really do anything to stop it. It's not like he could shoot her with an arrow or something because she would die. So he just watched his wife being carried away forever. But there is actually another version where Chang'e saw her husband brought home the auxiliary, and she got so excited, like, "Oh my God, you got it!" And she drank the thing immediately, not caring what her husband has to say, and she ended up floating to the moon too. Like, no matter what happened, this girl floated to the moon because she was just too careless.
That's the
Like,
worst
that's the original
method, though, in my opinion. Like, you just saw it and just started drinking. Like, what about your husband?
Like, I'm just like, that's why I call this the careless immortality. It's just weird. Like, you're just being like a kid. Like, you're just throwing tantrums and stuff like that. So the next one, the second one, or as I labeled it, the romantic myth, or what I called it, the tale of Romeo and Juliet. Cue the tale as old as time again. So, see, you sing on the spot again. See, I told you. Okay, sorry, that was another hole. But okay, so basically, this one is the romantic version, and this one is like I think this is the version where people like it the most because it's a little bit more, fantasy. Like, oh my God, the two lovers got separated, and she sacrificed herself and everything. This is like, the lovey-dovey version. It's also a very popular version in this myth, in this romantic myth.
Well, because
Rather
people like
than
happy
John,
endings, it has to be. Of course, it's popular because people like happy endings. I mean,
yeah, it has. Well, it's not really happy ending. It's the character has like a more noble characteristic than.
true.
So
We like the
in
characters.
this myth, instead of like Zhang being a careless, insufferable, whiny kid, she engaged in a very self-sacrificial act, and some might even call it heroic. So again, in this story, it begins with 10 suns in the sky, like the first one, scorching many crops and people to death. And the Jade Emperor, again, he summoned Hou Yi to shoot down 9 of the 10 suns. This time, in this story, the Emperor actually summoned him to shoot it down. Like, he literally, this was not his sons messing around. So these were just 10 suns in the sky, and he's like, we need to get rid of some. So he I guess called the specialist in, and he's like, shoot down 9 of these suns. And Hou Yi did. And he was actually rewarded with an auxiliary of immortality this time for shooting down 9 of the 10, ravaged the land with drought and disaster. So he literally got hired for a job. He completed a job. This one is like, instead of killing 9 of the 9 of the 10 of the Emperor's son, this time he actually was summoned to shoot them down. So both of them, both Chang'e and Hou Yi, started as a mortal in the story. Like, Hou Yi was just still a mortal. He was just like a really, really talented archer. He wasn't like a god or a demigod. Like I said, he was just be destined to be like a really strong and talented and like out of this world. He has like he was blessed with an immorbid amount of talent. But this time, even though Hou Yi was rewarded with an elixir of immortality, but neither Hou Yi nor his wife wanted to take the elixir and become immortal and leave the other person. So they only have like, one elixir enough for one person. So they're like, okay, so if Hou Yi becomes a god, he'll have to be away from his wife, or his wife become a goddess, she'll have to be away from her husband. So they're like, nah, we're okay with this normal life. We don't need to be that. We can be with each other. So they decided to store the elixir and live their mortal life. Sorry, mortal life. They decided to live as human, and instead of moping around and whining about her immortal life, Chang'e lived like pretty decently with her husband. The two of them had like a carefree, simple, coupley life where Hou Yi would go into the forest to hunt, and Zhang Yi would be home, taking care of the house, being a housewife and everything. Everything was fun and decent and simple and happy.
Cue the vocals. Aw, how cute.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. However,
Cue music.
Cue the shark music from Jaws. One day, one day, out of the ordinary blue, Hou-Yi's apprentice, a guy by the name of Feng Ming, decides, because he knew that Hou-Yi had an immortal elixir, he decided he's going to attempt to steal the elixir and have it for himself. And I will become immortal forever. Cue villain laugh. So Chang'e went into the home and she caught Feng Ming red-handed in the act of stealing the elixir. So she tried to fight him off. She tried to stop him, like, stop, you can't do that. And he actually was able to overpower her, and she stopped him. She stopped at him by sacrificing herself and drinking the elixir herself. So in that moment, it's like in that moment of the story, it's like, oh my God, he overpowered me. He's going to kill me. So either I die and let this crappy a-hole guy gain immortality, or I can sacrifice myself and not let him have it. So after doing so, she drank the elixir and she became immortal, and she floated to the moon, never to be seen by her beloved husband again. And so they also, where Chang'e chooses to live on the moon so she can be, like, closer to Earth where her husband lived. And Hou-Yi, once he returned and learned of what had happened to Chang'e, his wife, Hou-Yi would prepared a feast on this day every single year when the moon is believed to be the fullest, in hope of catching a glimpse of his wife's shadow. And they live non-happily ever after, but they survive through eternity. The end.
Call it long distance love.
This is beyond long. This is unworldly, ungodly long distance.
Like, I was just like literally once a year putting out a whole spread and just having a dinner date with your wife from the moon. That's just so sad. And it's funny
just to see her shadow. Just to see her shadow, not even her.
Oh,
see
he's not
a
even dining
shadow.
with her. He's dining with the shadow.
Like, guys, I'm just saying, if Hou-Yi and Chang'e could make it, you can make it. So pick up that phone, go on to Zoom, Skype, whatever you need to do, and make it work. I don't care, okay?
Yeah, honestly, she had to sacrifice her whole relationship by I'm sorry, I can't say it with a straight face. She made the sacrifice of drinking an elixir of life. It's eternal life. And to us, that sounds so silly, and it sounds like, oh my gosh. But if you think about it, like we said, she doesn't get to see her husband anymore, and the two are so close and so happy.
She threw away her whole life.
Basically. And even if she did want to go back to heaven as an immortal or whatever, the Jade Emperor and a lot of the gods in Chinese mythology, not that they weren't cool, but like, they're about as much fun to hang around as, say, Zeus and Aphrodite with their flings.
Yeah.
Nonsense every day.
Maybe that's why she lives on the moon. I mean, she just want to be isolated. Like,
she just doesn't want to deal with their bull crap.
Like, I'm making my own home over here. See ya. Like, I'll see ya once a year. Maybe not. Never mind. So the last version, we're almost done with this rabbit hole. Just stay here for about 5 more minutes. I promise. So the last version. Oh, by the way, did you guys realize that I designed the poster in the shape of, like, the lanterns, the paper lanterns that they have it on Mid-Autumn Festival? It's in the pattern of an actual lantern. If you guys noticed that.
I actually did. I thought it was so cute. I was like, oh my
gosh. Yep. And and here we have yeah, so of course, to recap, the last one was immortality. Chang'e sacrificed herself, drinking the elixir, becoming immortal, and she still floated away from her husband. And this is the myth where people wants to believe the most, because it has like a nice romantic tale to it. There's a villain to it, and not the actual main character.
Chang'e actually wants to stay with her husband.
Yeah, this is the one people wants to believe. Yeah, because they're actually decent people in this one. So that's why people like this one. And it explains why, this is why we have mooncakes every single year. This is why we have a feast every single year for this holiday. It's in celebration of the moon goddess. She was this loyal wife and this decent person. She sacrificed herself for humanity. Yay!
Not really. She didn't sacrifice herself for us. Sure enough. Well, I mean, good job not letting the evil man get the elixir, though. But also, sis, you could have poured it out on the floor. But like,
That's an option.
I just thought of that. And no disrespect to anyone who actually really loves the story. I also love this story, but I'm just like, I don't know. I just thought about it just now, and
Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
could have dumped it.
on the floor.
But then again, if she dumped it, he would have killed her.
Yeah, actually, yeah, good point. Never mind. I guess
he would have killed her either way. He would have killed her to get the elixir. If she pour it out, it angers him. He'll kill her. But if she let him have the elixir, he'll become like this very evil god with a lot of power, and then he'll harm people. And then that's another thing.
If I was Hou, I wonder if there's a story or a part of the story. I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter after this because we just needed it to explain why we have the Moon Festival. But like, I wonder if there's a version where he actually avenges her. Like, I would have taken that god out, bro. Like my entire life. I have to dine with.
I think he did. I don't know. Maybe he did. I mean, I think he would. There's no reason why, but they don't really mention it. Either maybe I'm thinking maybe after that happened, maybe Feng Ming ran away because I mean he saw her becoming a goddess. He's like, oh my gosh, she's gonna come back for me, or her husband's gonna come back to me. I mean, if I was him, I'll get the heck out of there. So maybe when Hou got home, so you know, maybe it was kind of too late when he got home.
Oh yeah, Hou and his arrows of 1,000 suns. That's what I'm gonna call it now.
Well, it was only 10, but you know, 1,000 is kind of close to 10. Just a couple more zeros.
So yeah, Chinese deities when they fight. Oh my gosh! Like literally, it might as well have been 1,000 suns. Like some of the fights and like literal like legends, just legendary. A1.
Yeah,
just beautiful.
Yeah, either just go big or go home. It's one of those things.
Pretty much.
So we have the last myth, the dramatic myth, and this one is more modern because it was written later on. It was written it was written for the purpose theatrical for plays and stuff like that. This story was meant to be more dramatic than it was supposed to be because they're trying to add more plot twists so it engages the audience.
Or entertaining.
This myth. Yeah, it's meant to be entertaining. So this myth I call it dramatic because it is the drama version of the original myth. It's meant to, keep people engaged in everything. So there's plot twists and there's a bunch of, engaging plot points and stuff like that. So lastly, modern version of this myth involves more plot twists and drama. So after this story happens, after Hou shot down 9 of the 10 sons, he was celebrated as a hero by many people on Earth. He was literally worshipped and treated like a leader and a king because, oh my God, this guy is extremely talented. He shot down the suns, for God's sake. He was hunting suns. He was they were like Alyssa. They were like, dang, this guy can shoot down the sun. What else can he not do? He saved all of us. He saved all of Earth. He's like the number one hero. He's like the number one guy all around right now.
Golden boy of China.
Yes, he was everyone was just kissing the ground he walks on. So Hou was rewarded the immortality elixir for him. But this is where the plot twist comes in. Hou started to change. He became mad with power because he's treated like a king and god by the people. They basically literally were worshiping the grounds he walks on. Hou begins to lose his integrity. And instead of wanting to share the elixir with his wife so they can both become immortal, he wanted all for himself. That's not the only twist. Not only does Hou want to become an immortal, like a divine god, he wants to be a very powerful god to challenge all the other gods and goddesses. He was completely drunk with power. He's like, I'm already the king of Earth. Why can't I conquer heaven as well? So Hou wanted to make the elixir even more potent and strong. So when he drinks it, he becomes this extremely divine, extremely powerful god. He's the big man all around. So guess what he did? He started sacrificing people and using their blood to concoct and strengthen the elixir. He couldn't get more mad and evil at this point. Then that's why I call it dramatic. So enter stage right, Chang'e what is she doing? She couldn't stand like husband become a mad dictator and loses himself. So what did she do? She tried to reason with him. But Hou Yi wasn't hearing any of it. He's like, I'm the most powerful man. I do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. And he only has eyes for power. So Chang'e came up with a plan. She decided to steal the elixir from her husband so she can destroy it. Dream of becoming this mortal or this mighty god and taking down heaven and everything. But her plan had a flaw because her husband caught her. Her husband caught her trying to steal the elixir. So at this point, Chang'e again, this is a repeated theme throughout 3 stories. Chang'e again had no choice left, but she swallowed the elixir and become immortal. And so she took off of Earth. Chang'e isolated herself on the moon and never returns from Earth again. And I think this story was supposed to explain, why is Chang'e such a loner? Like, why is she on the moon by herself all the time? Why doesn't she join the other gods? Well, because she was heartbroken. She doesn't want to engage with anyone. She was betrayed by her husband. So she locked herself up in the moon and just sits there and looked down at Earth.
Okay, I know we're going over time, but I gotta say this. First of all, congratulations. Good on you, girl, for recognizing a toxic human being in your life and getting away from, well, sort of, getting farther away from him. She could never really leave, so I can't give her the full points, but definitely give her the points for realizing that he's actually a dangerous person and maybe you shouldn't. I don't view it more as a sacrifice at this point. I view it as a way out. Take the elixir and run, girl. But like,
still heartbroken.
Yeah, it's sad because it's like she used to love him and then he actually became, and I think actually there's a couple of animes that I've actually seen. Yeah, I think this was the version I heard, but I didn't hear this one. The story I heard was the second one we told, but this one was actually the one that I watched in an anime. I think they took this story and I think it's called Fuji something. It's about a celestial priestess. Somebody out here probably knows it, but it's a Japanese anime and they basically took this story and basically took the premise of it and put it in a Japanese show that they made about a celestial priest and her husband going insane and basically going same thing. He went mad with power and gets obsessed with her, tries to get her, and she basically becomes a spirit to run away from him and all that. It's like a whole thing.
I mean, good anime. This story is meant, it was written for theatrical purposes. It's meant for, show purposes. So I can understand where people, want to get the idea from. It is a very appealing story. It has a lot of plot twists and it has more character development and everything versus a regular myth. So I can see why people like this version more. Me personally, I like this version more as well because I'm not into lovey-dovey stuff. So I think it does have a little bit more, character development, more plot twists, more eye-catching stuff in there. So it is still my favorite version. I just not into lovey-dovey stuff. Totally fine. Myths are meant to change. We're down the rabbit hole, but I like it. I do. I like the third version best. So which version do you guys like? Do tell us.
I'm more for the dramatic version too. I'm not gonna lie. Plus, I feel like we get more fight scenes out of that. And if I never understood women so demure, but whenever I watch a Chinese drama or see their stories, this is the one I'm very surprised about, that there was no, I don't know, there was no kind of graceful art or fighting to it because usually you see the female goddesses and they'll either be spiteful like the Greek goddesses or they'll have them in some kind of submissive version. But in the Chinese versions, I've never read one where they just kind of back down. In fact, all the female goddesses are actually pretty bad arts. They're fun. So I was actually surprised. I feel like we get more fight scenes if we watch the dramatic version, but I also like the romantic version. I could read about the romantic version, but on TV, I want to see the dramatic version.
The dramatic version is meant for showcases and stuff like that, theater, musical. So I can understand that. Well, the moon goddess Chang'e, she is known to be a very graceful person. She's known to be a very a powerful person. At the same time, she's known to be very graceful, very beautiful, very very much an untouchable goddess. So I can see why it's like that. I mean, she has to be a decent person in order to get that reputation. Aside from the original myth. Okay, so down this rabbit hole, do tell us. I will put it in the poll later. Do tell us, which one is your favorite myth? Because I think Alyssa just voted for the dramatic one. So do I. So we have 2 votes for that. But I want to know what you guys think. And Alyssa, do you have any closing remarks? Any insults to throw out there before we go?
Oh, yes. Just 2. So first of all, happy Mid-Autumn Festival to anyone who's celebrating it. And if not, it. So like feel free to Google it, put some pictures, find some friends that you know that actually do celebrate it. That'll be fun. Share it with us on the platform. We'd love to see how you're celebrating this year's Mid-Autumn Moon Festival, if at all, or if you have friends that are celebrating it. It would be cool to see it in the chat. Also, secondly, I guess involving the story, I guess all I have to say is, I guess I like the fact that in one version of the story, Chang'e is the jerk, and the other, the man is the jerk. So equal rights, equal fights.
Yep, we have.
I don't know. I feel like that was so cringy of me to say, but hey, it came to mind. So
I our version. We have one where she's the villain. I mean, not the villain, but just like the bad guy, and then then we have the one that's like, oh, there's a completely whole other villain, and then one that's like, oh, he's the jerk. Whatever.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is don't do anything that either of the characters would do in the first or third story. I mean, unless you want an epic love story where we actually get to have, war god Hou. That would
pass. Pass. I watch them and throw popcorn at my TV. Yeah. But of course, thank you so much for going down the rabbit hole with us. We love all the time. This little spontaneous special episode, but love you guys. Have a happy rest of your Mid-Autumn Festival, Moon Festival, whatever you call it. And yeah, that's it. Goodbye, Mornos.